Wisdom Wednesday, where the CommonTime Education and Outreach team like to connect with all of our stakeholders to give you tips, tricks, and trends in the arts world. This week, we're focusing on arts education, which is one of our ultimate passions here at CommonTime. But first, some housekeeping. Coming up on weekends in July, we have the CommonTime Indigenous Music Festival, where we will have professional musicians presenting recitals on traditional Chinese music, traditional Indian music, and traditional Middle Eastern music. Head to commontime.online, click on events at the top for more info about that. The first event that is up and available for ticket purchase is the session with Jeffrey Levenberg, where he will be playing the guzheng, which is kind of like, you know, the slide guitar for any Western folks watching. It's kind of like a flat sideways guitar type. There is one side of the guzheng that is on the opposite side of like the bridge. It's kind of like a bridge type deal, like violin. Then you have a longer side that has no bridge, where they do cool vibratos and ding, 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 ding. If you ever hear like, I guess, traditional like Asian sounding music and it has that like ding, that's that instrument, and it's really cool. It's really awesome to hear people play it. And I learned from my time in China that it is traditionally a ladies' instrument. So I think it's cool. Jeffrey Levenberg is an American, but he spent a considerable amount of time living, working, studying in Hong Kong, and he just kind of adopted this musical culture, and it's also adopted him as well. So it's going to be a really cool experience. Head over to commontime.online, the events page, and check that out. Second point of housekeeping. On Friday, June 24th, we are hosting the CommonTime Social, which is your chance to come out, talk with us. We have some discussion questions just to get our community going. We're also going to have an awesome trivia game where the winner will win a prize. But it's kind of like that show, Whose Lines Is It Anyway, where the points don't matter. If you've ever seen that, you know what I'm talking about. To find the link to that event, find us on LinkedIn, find us on Facebook. We've got pages there called CommonTime Online, and the events are right there front and center where you can see us. So now that we've completed our housekeeping, I wish I could finish my own personal housekeeping here. Let's get into it. This week, we are talking about how to use CommonTime to create a career-focused arts program at your school, arts organization, in your home, etc. So this topic has a little bit of an ethical tug for me, because I'm kind of learning to resist the notion that the sole purpose of education is to feed the world's workforce. I think that when you think of it that way, it can feel a bit limiting. And oftentimes, that mindset gives people the justification to cut arts programs. I know in where I come from, anytime there's a budget cut, anytime the current budget of the state or the city doesn't add up quite right, the first thing that they cut are the arts programs. It's kind of like the eating out. Anytime you've got a tough month with your family, what's the first thing you're going to cut? We're not eating out anymore. Oftentimes, in many situations, the arts programs are the eating out of the school budget. But I have spoken on this platform many times about things we can do to make sure that we are showing our worth and showing our value, especially to administrators and leaders that don't readily understand it. And one way we can do that is by using CommonTime to create a career-focused approach to our arts program. I know with my students, even starting in first grade, I expose them to musical careers all the time. The first strategy I'm going to give you to building a career-focused arts program is something that I use in every single unit. And I think that it's so important because students know that they can be policemen, firefighters. They know they can be engineers. They know they can be video game streamers, YouTubers. They know they can be doctors, lawyers. They know that they can be business owners. But they don't know that they can be musicians. They don't know that there's a million other music jobs besides being Britney Spears. That's only one job. There's tons of other jobs that use musicians, that use artists, that use dancers, that use theater and drama people, actors. There's tons of positions like this. And I think that it's our job to let students know, hey, we're not learning to play the flute. It's not a game. I always tell the story, when I was student teaching, there was a student who got 9,000 USD a year to play flute at basketball games. This was like one rehearsal a week, one game a week. The games are in a packed 10,000 seat arena on ESPN. So it's not like anyone's dragging you to this game. People wish they could go to this game, and you're there playing the Hey song on flute. All they had to do to get this scholarship was play 12 major scales in front of a couple of people. And if you've got a kid and you put them through college, you know that $9,000 a year, that could be a room and board, that could be rent. That's a big chunk of tuition. That's a lot. You know, $9,000 a year just to play basketball, flute, which only happens like during the winter and the spring. So most of the year you're not even doing it, and you're still getting that. That's about $1,000 a month if you're looking at a 10-month, 9.5-month school year because you played the flute at school. You know, these scholarships exist, and that's just a college example, not necessarily a career example, but it's just an example that I give when I tell people that we don't learn music, we don't learn art, we don't learn drama, we don't learn dance purely for its intrinsic value. We don't do it purely for SEL. We don't do it purely because it helps increase academic performance. We don't do it purely because while other subjects give you the how the world works with your physics and your chemistry, arts give us the why do we want to do this? Why does it matter to us why the world works? We also learn the arts because it's a viable career path. And I'll leave you with this before we get started. These same people who discourage people from pursuing careers in the arts spend all of their free time consuming the arts. You get in your car in the morning and you're listening to a public speaking radio presenter who probably took drama classes in school to get to that point. Then they're playing music that was written by songwriters, arranged by composers, recorded by sound engineers, promoted by music marketing executives, sang by performers. Right there, I just listed 5 jobs. Then you've got people that handle the publishing. You've got arts lawyers. You've got intellectual property lawyers. All of those, that's 8 jobs so far I just named, and you only heard one song on the radio. Okay, then we go to work and we're bombarded with graphic design materials. You work for a company. There's a team of artists constantly creating materials. You're using pencils and pens that were designed by people that have a design background. You're working on desks that were designed the same way. You walk into these aesthetically pleasing buildings that have plans and blueprints drawn by architectural artists. Then you get home and you turn on Netflix and you watch animated shows and you watch movies and television shows. You watch websites that are aesthetically pleasing. You're watching TV shows with music composed by musicians, with art teams that are doing the color, with drama, actor, theater professionals that are doing everything from the lights to the sound, to the costumes, to wardrobe, to everything like that. Keep this in mind, especially when you're dealing with people that don't believe you. These same people who discourage us from following careers in the arts spend all of their free time and a lot of their not free time digesting the art world, which is our favorite subject here at CommonTime Online. Let's get into it. How can you create a career-focused arts program at your school, arts organization, in your home using CommonTime? Number one, teachers, if you're not doing this, you've got to start doing it. It's really changed the game for how I talk about my music learning, and that is using a grasp task in your assessments. I'm going to write it out. GRASP. Grasp. And this is an acronym. It stands for Goal, Role, Audience, Scenario, Product. The goal is, what is your goal? We are creating a self-portrait. We are taking pictures of the school because we're pretending that we're selling the building. We are playing at a concert. We're playing Hot Cross Buns at our first ever concert. We are dancing the Nutcracker, etc. Then here's the key part of the career focus: the role. All of your students are going to be assigned a role when they're achieving their goal. That role can be directly tied to a career. And I love this, especially my little ones, my first, second, third, fourth graders. They eat this up. I tell them, during Ramadan, we were doing a Foley music project where we did all the sound effects for different cartoons, and we deleted the sound and created all the sound effects for cartoons. And I would tell them, close your eyes. Imagine you work for Disney. They're like, oh, they work at Disney. And I would say, imagine I am the artist and I drew this cartoon, and I'll pull up a clip from Turning Red. There's a great guy on YouTube who does Foley music. And I said, what do you notice about this cartoon? They say, well, it's silent. There's no sound. And I said, right, we have to make that sound. I'm the artist. I drew this cartoon, but now we need to finish it. And they didn't realize that every cartoon they watch, that sound is not real. Donald Duck is not real. The sound of him talking, a duck did not talk like that. Like, there is no actor duck. And it clicked with them, like, oh, there's thousands of people around the world that are doing sound, producing cartoons and other movies all day, every day. We even looked it up. In the movie industry was however many hundreds of billions, maybe trillions of dollars. And we looked up how many movies were made a year worldwide. And it's like several 100,000 movies are made every year. Every single one of them has people creating sounds. We looked up how many cartoons were produced. It's in the millions every year. Every single one of them has someone that's doing Foley arts for them. So assigning them that role opens it up. And when you're talking to parents and they get to understand what a grasp task is, they start to see the value. Because if you think as a parent, you want your kid to take care of themselves. So I'm showing them that with study in music or study in the arts, and through these grasp tasks, that can become your career by exploring these different roles. Now, where does CommonTime come in? When you are assigning your students a role, it would help for them to have experience talking to someone, receiving instruction for someone, having an engaging and unique cultural arts experience with someone that fits that role so that they can better achieve their goal. And where is the platform where all of these roles in the arts are found? That's CommonTime Online. So if your students are composing music, why not have a composer come in and give them a one-day session on composing music, how they compose music, workshopping pieces they've composed. If your goal is your students are professional dancers, they're dancing the Nutcracker, why not bring in a dancer from Germany or from New York City or from Paris into your classes to work with those students and show them that this role that we're doing exists in real life. We're not doing this for fun. This is real life. If your students are creating architectural drawings for a building that they're going to build and they're working in art class? Why not bring in Kanchana, who's an architectural drawer, who is from India living in Germany? Why not bring her in to help the students sketch? Of course, you're an art teacher. I'm sure you know how to sketch buildings, but now we're bringing in a professional architect, architectural drawer who does this. This is what they do. And just think, how could your students benefit from a learning experience like that? From learning new vocabulary words in Hindi or in German, to working with someone who has a different perspective, to getting ideas and feedback from someone who actually does this for a living, not just for an art project, to be able to talk to someone so that they can discuss in real time with real world advice. This project you're doing now, people do that to feed their family. It's real. And I think one of the first steps to making your arts program career focused is the GRASP task. And then we're going to talk about this a little later in this presentation. But I just thought of this, having your students at the end of the year have kind of a makeshift career day where they dress up as the different roles that they've taken on during the year. And they show their parents, their administrators, the different stakeholders in your community, hey, this year I wasn't a first grade student. I was a sound engineer. I was a percussionist. I was an event planner because we chose a song to sing at National Day. I was a choreographer because we came up with dance moves to do along with our song. I was a professional photographer because I took portraits of the kids in my class for a portrait project. I was a reviewer. I was a newspaper journalist because I wrote a reflection on the concert that we just did. I was a playlist curator because I selected songs for a playlist and now I can go work for Spotify or Apple Music. I am an architect because I drew plans for a building. I am a newscaster because in drama class we made short videos telling people the news of our school and the weather. We're not talking to second graders, we're talking to artists. And using GRASP task is one way that you can do that. Just for due diligence, the rest of GRASP audience, that is who your goal applies to, who your goal is for, who you're working for in your role. S is the scenario. What's the context of the learning? And P is the final product. What product are you going to create? That's enough step one. Number two, in how to use CommonTime to create a career-focused arts program. And number two is through representation. Like we mentioned with the GRASP program, every time you bring in a professional, vetted, high-quality, world-class teaching artist from the CommonTime platform, you're exposing your students to people who are working in the fields that you're studying. We all know people who play football. We've all known doctors, we've all known dentists, we all know taxi drivers, we all know bus drivers, we all know people cook food, but oftentimes we're so removed from the arts. We see movies, we see television, we see shows, and for some reason, we don't tell our students, and our students don't naturally always think that, hey, I can do that too. They don't understand that 10,000 people worked on Iron Man. They don't understand that the moving parts of a theater show, from arts administration to marketing to payroll, there's all those jobs exist within the arts too. And when you bring in guest artists from the CommonTime platform, when you have your students work with musicians from India, when you have your students do improv theater with an actor from Slovakia, when you have your students learn guitar from a guitarist in Hong Kong, when you have your students read scripts with an actress from Hollywood, they are getting representation. They are seeing the people working in these fields. Okay, and that representation, it really matters. They say art imitates life, and it's hard to imagine something with no prior basis. Cavemen couldn't imagine a cell phone. Steve Jobs was able to imagine this iPhone based on the fact that he'd been using phones. I don't think you look at the first ever written note and imagine emails. You don't imagine that you can be a dancer until you take on the role of a dancer and then meet and work with a professional dancer from Germany. Representation matters, especially in our field, Number 3, the third way you can turn your arts program into a career-focused arts program at your school, your home, your arts organization is by having the students research possible careers. One way that they can research possible careers is by going to the CommonTime platform and then clicking on our artists list. Then in the search bar, they can actually search by profession, by specialization, okay, by category. So if you want your students to look up different careers in music, they can actually go to the CommonTime platform, go to the artist, and I'll actually share my screen here. Maybe that will help it be more clear what I'm trying to communicate. Share screen. But yeah, you can come to the CommonTime platform, click on the artist tab, and look at this search feature. So if you tell your students, I want you to look up careers in music, they can come down, click on music, and they can look and say, okay, this guy, he looks so cool. He's an instrumentalist, he's a band director, he does percussion and does general music. Then you can have them look into what do these things mean and do I do them? Okay, then you look at this person, they're an instrumentalist. So, okay, I'm seeing that playing an instrument is something you can do in music. What does this artist do? He's an instrumentalist, he does improvisation, and he's a recording artist. What's a recording artist? I don't know. Let's book this guy and let him tell us. Then as an educator, if you have a lot of students who are interested in knowing what's a recording artist, I saw that. Then you go and you book a private lesson for just 30 minutes, one time. The lesson subject is recording artists. These are middle schoolers, they're 10 to 12. And you type in, hey, I need you to talk to my kids about how to become a recording artist and what that job is like. Now then you pick your time. Now you've got a 30-minute session with your students who research what a recording artist is, and they can get someone that's actually living that life to help them see what that is like. Let's look at this musician. Okay, he's a choral director, a vocalist. What's that? He's a composer and an arranger, a music engineer. What is all that? A rap artist? You mean that's a real job? You mean making music for streaming apps and making YouTube and those things is a real career? Of course it is. So likewise, you could look at under the profession and say, I kind of want to be an acting director. Okay, they don't have any of those. What about ballet? And we can look and see who fits that mold. And we're looking down under the dance category now. And you can click on this dancer and see what do they do. Okay, they do ballet, movement, solo dance. These are all things that your students could do. But look at this dancer. She's a choreographer. What does that mean? So using CommonTime to start a pattern of research to get your students more familiar with the possibilities in these fields. And then not only can they research different careers in the arts with the platform, but then there's that built-in connection that's included in the platform too. Okay, step 4 in how to create a career-focused arts program using the CommonTime platform at your situation is by hosting a career fair using the platform. We always, a lot of schools have career day where parents will come in, but oftentimes they're following that same trend. At least in some of the communities I've worked in international schools, we've got businessmen, doctors, lawyers, business owners. But that's 4 jobs out of the 42,000 million billion, as some of my students would say, jobs that are possible. And even if you invite in every parent, rarely will you get someone who's speaking about careers in the arts. So why not go to the CommonTime platform, search through the artists just like I showed you, and then bring some of them in and have a career day of sorts with your students where you have them connect with these different artists where they showcase their careers and talk about the possibilities so that students are excited about learning the arts. One thing I've noticed is that a lot of students, maybe they don't like math, but rarely do you get a student who is completely oblivious to the benefits of learning math. Everyone knows that to achieve certain things, you need to know math. Everyone knows that you have to learn how to read, even though they hate reading. Everyone knows that you have to, you get the idea, but they don't have this same approach with the arts. And using these career fairs on the CommonTime platform, you could do that. Maybe that's something we should actually host as a CommonTime career fair. And we make it recorded and we make it available for educators to be able to show to their students. Might be onto something there. All right, number 5, and these aren't in order of importance. I just numbered them. The number 5 strategy for creating a career-focused arts program using the CommonTime platform in your situation is through service learning. I've actually done, I think, 2 Wisdom Wednesdays on service learning. But if you look back at them, if you look at service learning, you have investigating, where you're finding problems, you're justifying your need for service, you're noticing there are stray dogs everywhere. Then you have planning, what can we do about these stray dogs? Then you have action, I'm going to donate money to the local charity so that they can afford to spay. I forget, it's spay or neuter, one is cats, one is dogs, so they can afford to fix, spay or neuter these dogs. And then we're going to reflect. Did our plan work? How do we feel about it? Was the charity receptive to our ideas? Were they able to achieve any type of quantifiable goals? When you get into the planning and the action part, just like with our grasp task, we have to assume a role. We are fundraisers. We are money makers. We advocate. We are activists. We are community organizers. We are chefs. We're going to make food for the dogs. We are marketers. We are marketing a cause. There's a group of PYP students at my school now who are collecting personal items and clothing to donate to a secondhand shop. So they are becoming community organizers. They're not 5th grade students. They are mobilizing a community. And you know who else was a community organizer? President Obama. So when you do grasp task, service learning, when you put your students in the position where they have to assume a role, it becomes very easy for them to see that role outside of the classroom and build connections with the real world. It's kind of like once you get a new car, now all of a sudden you see all those cars at the same car as you. Those cars are always there. You were always passing them, but you just didn't notice it because it wasn't something that it wasn't in your frame of view at that time. But when you use grasp tasks, when you use service learning, I won't go too deep into service learning. You've got to head to commontime.online/blog to learn more about service learning. When you use grasp tasks and you use service learning, when you take opportunities to assign the students a role in your learning, that is when they're able to make these types of real world connections. Here is the final strategy for needs a glass of water. Building an career focused arts program with the CommonTime platform. And that is by using the CommonTime platform with your school, with your organization. Let's put this in context. Every department at the school needs funds. This is true. Imagine your art department. You're going to do an art exhibition where you're going to showcase the students' art. What if you streamed that live on CommonTime for $5 a ticket? All those uncles, aunties, cousins, brothers, friends, relatives from all over the world would then be able to watch little Jimmy talk about his self-portrait. Now you've got students in charge of the camera. You've got students in charge of marketing. Who are we going to send the link to so they can buy tickets? You've got students in charge of what can we do with these funds? Do we need to talk to our principal to make sure it's okay for us to get this money? What do we need from this money? Then of course you've got the students creating the art. You've got students saying, well, what's the best way to do this presentation? Do we need a program? Do we need an order of events? Now your students are event planners. Your students are cameramen. Your students are facilitating a live stream, which is a whole career now. How many events are being live streamed? If you're an events company that can't facilitate live streaming, I don't even know how you're in business anymore, because every event's live streamed now. Your students are AV people now. Your students are artists. Your students are doing marketing. Your students are doing finance. That's all from you streaming your events on CommonTime. And the same goes for music. Stream your concert live with us. Stream your chamber recitals live with us. It takes minutes for you to register your school as an arts organization. Then as long as your school has a PayPal account, then you're gonna receive money from the tickets that you sell. There is another Wisdom Wednesday I did at commontime.online/blog where we talk about using CommonTime as an innovative method for fundraising. When I grew up in music, we sold stuff. We sold poinsettias at Christmas time. We sold cookie dough. We sold discount cards. We sold popcorn. And that is very labor intensive for your students, very labor intensive for the parents. Your kids then have to distribute that material when it comes in. You're also entrusting students with money, right? If I sell 10 containers of popcorn and I don't bring that money back, I'm not going to be able to give the people that popcorn. If I sell 10 discount cards and I hand out the discount cards, but I only bring back $5 worth of discount cards, now my parents, me, or ultimately the school who signed the contract with the discount card company is going to have to pay for those cards. You know, I worked in a school where they sold the world's famous chocolate. Each box has 60 boxes of chocolate. You leave that box on the school bus, you owe that company $60. And there's like nothing you can do about that. But with this, you sign up your band program, your arts program as an arts organization on CommonTime. All you need is a PayPal account. So get your, and we also can do this by wire transfer as well. If your school is not able to facilitate a PayPal account, we can wire that money as well. You create your event, you market it to your stakeholders, people buy tickets, they show up. Likewise, you can also sell recorded events as an arts organization. Maybe you sell past concerts. A concert video from 5 years ago can be sold on that platform. And now you're turning your students into recording artists. Imagine telling your students, hey, you sold a recording of you playing. You are Beyonce. Granted, she did it on a much larger scale, But if you can sell one ticket, you can sell 10. If you can sell 10, you can sell 100. You sell 100, you can sell 1,000. You sell 1,000 tickets, you can sell 60,000. You know, that's we know this, but our students don't. So, and the same goes for plays, dance recitals, all of them. Let's recap. Adding a career-focused element to your arts program is a great way to help students build real-world connections and also help the different stakeholders in our community, give them another opportunity to see the value of what we are doing. Here's 6 ways you can make that happen with the CommonTime platform. Number 1, by using GRASP tasks. That's an acronym of goal, role, audience, scenario, and product. This is how I organize my assessments. The most important part to me being the R for role. What role are your students acting in when they complete this project, assessment, activity? Then how can an international world-class vetted teaching artist from the CommonTime platform enhance and engage with those students in that particular learning experience? Number 2 is by representation. Our students, they know you can be a firefighter. We see them all the time. They know you can be a police officer. We see them all the time. But they don't know that you can create sound effects for cartoons. They don't know that you can choreograph fights for movies because you're a dancer. They don't know that you can act in commercials. They don't know that you can write commercials. They don't know that you can compose music, et cetera, et cetera. They don't know that you don't have to get your art in a museum. You could create logos for different companies. I'm looking for something around that has a logo. Even something as simple as this pen. They don't know that this little mark right here was created by some graphic design firm who got paid big bucks for making that logo. Representation matters. Number 3, using CommonTime to help your students research careers in the arts. Our search functionality is very thorough and it offers you a lot of filters to be able to find different careers. Then, unlike using Google, unlike using YouTube, when you find a career that you're interested in on the platform, you got a built-in personal connection right there, lickety split. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Or as someone once said, hard, lemon hard. But this one's the easy one. Number 4, using CommonTime to create a career fair for your students. Do your students know that there are careers in the arts and that a career in the arts is not just possible, but it's needed? It's mandatory in this society that we've built on a global scale. It's not optional. Having artists in our world is not an option. It's not frivolous. It's not superfluous. It's not for our own health. It's not optional. You know, no building gets built. No type of media gets made. No product gets designed. No words become said. Nothing happens without people dedicated to the arts. But our students don't know this. They all think they want to be engineers. But we've got to save them one at a time. Number 5 is service learning. When you do service learning, after you check out the blog we did on service learning, actually 2 of them, on commontime.online/blog, you realize that when you're doing action, just like with our GRASP task, your students must be assigned a role. Whenever you have the opportunity to assign your students a role in their learning, that is a bridge to the real world. Being a 5th grader has no connection to the real world because you're literally a 5th grader in America for 180 days of your life. But you can be a composer forever. You can be a choreographer forever. You can be a photographer forever. That's why we're doing this. And the 6th and final way to create a career-focused arts program using the CommonTime platform is to have your school arts programs registered on the platform as arts organizations and start showcasing the work your students are doing in a way that allows your students to monetize their efforts. Yeah, that allows your students to monetize their efforts. We want our orchestra kids to play 5 concerts a year and they got to sell cookies so we can buy music. No, they just put 100 seats in that auditorium 4 times a year. That should be buying music. You know, we ask our theater kids to put on these performances and rehearse every day. Then we want them to go sell poinsettias at Christmas time so we can buy costumes. No, stream that play, stream those monologues on, stream those student written performances on CommonTime. Get it cleared with your school, and then sell tickets to this stuff. Grandma wants to see the play too, but she doesn't get out as much as she used to. She needs this. Okay? We want our students to exhibit art 5 times a year, take all these pictures, paint all these paintings, and then we got to go door to door selling discount cards so we can buy paint? No, nah. Check out the commontime.online/blog. We did a great Wisdom Wednesday on using CommonTime for an innovative fundraising strategy. Let the kids monetize their existence. They're either going to learn how to do it now or they're going to learn how to do it later. And CommonTime is a great, safe way for you to have your school on the platform so that they can ticket live streamed or pre-recorded events. We're working with a lot of schools now that are hopefully going to be doing just that in the near future. Once again, my name, I got a little hype there. I think that's important though. Your students are going to learn how to monetize their content, their effort, their existence now, or they're going to learn how to do it later. And I've never really thought of that idea before until I started talking with you all. But it's so true. It's so true. Once again, my name is Michael Skiller. And this is Wisdom Wednesday from the Education and Outreach team here at CommonTime Online, which is your virtual home for arts education, arts engagement, and an arts community. June 24th, the CommonTime Social. Head over to LinkedIn, Facebook, and find that event. Weekends in July, the CommonTime Indigenous Music Festival. Check on commontime.online/events for more info. It'll be updated very shortly. Thank you.